Okay, so what really gives a team that edge, even before anyone fires a single shot in like a high stakes situation?
Yeah, it's this idea of almost knowing what's going to happen, like winning the fight before it even starts.
Exactly. It's like having this near psychic view of the battlefield, right? Turning encounters into planned attacks instead of just stumbling into things. Welcome everyone to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into trackers. They're basically the eyes of the squad.
That's right. We've gone through a whole bunch of source material on these roles and pulled out the key stuff.
So what's our mission today?
Our mission is basically to unpack what these trackers actually are, how they work, the mechanics of it all, and crucially why they're so vital for any team wanting that strategic control, that unmatchable edge.
Absolutely. And look, this isn't just about gaming tactics. It really speaks to the power of information, of foresight. Well, in pretty much any strategic situation you could think of.
For sure.
We're going to show you how these tracker abilities give you that essential pre-fight vision, how they let you control movement, and ultimately how they help you dominate.
So it doesn't matter if you're the IGL, the one calling the shots, or maybe you're a solo player just looking for an advantage, or even part of a really coordinated team.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding this stuff. It's kind of like a shortcut to getting tactical control down. You'll see how it translates into wins.
Okay, so let's nail it down. What is a tracker, fundamentally? Our sources define them as specialists in locating enemies. They track them down.
Right. They're key for initiating fights, giving you that upper hand right from the start. They're like the intelligence service of the squad.
Laying the groundwork for taking action before the enemy even knows what's happening.
And what's really interesting looking at the sources is the sheer variety, like the different types of eyes you can have.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Well, you've got the classic tracker operator, right? They show you historical intel where enemies were, like moments ago. Great for following trails.
Okay, so past positions.
Exactly. Then there's the scout. They use sensor darts, giving you real-time, like instant enemy locations. Good for locking down current spots.
So live intel. Different use case.
Totally. Then you have the mechanic uses an EMP drone. Now, this thing not only highlights enemies, but it also disables traps, clears paths for you.
That's interesting. So intel plus utility.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a really tricky one, misdirection. This creates false enemy trails, specifically designed to mess with opposing trackers.
Wow, okay. So actively deceiving the enemy's intel gathering.
Yep. Each one gives you a unique window into what's hidden on the battlefield.
That's a lot of ways to get eyes on things.
Right.
But let's bring it down to, say, a solo player. How does having this kind of foresight actually, work in practice? How does that gold intel help someone clear a building safely, maybe?
Yeah, for a solo player, it changes everything. It takes the guesswork out, instead of slowly creeping and praying.
Right, hoping nobody's in that corner.
Exactly. With good intel, you can move through buildings confidently. You know where they were or where they are. You can set up ambushes on tracked targets. Or maybe even time a perfect third-party attack on two other squads fighting it out.
Because you see it coming.
Precisely. You're using better information to strip away the element of surprise from them while keeping it for yourself.
Okay, that makes sense for solo. Now, what about when you scale it up for teams? The impact must be huge.
Oh, immense. It's way beyond just awareness.
How so? How do teams combine these roles? What kind of, advanced tactics can they pull off when these different eyes work together?
Well, think about it. With good tracking, a team might completely bypass a heavily defended enemy choke point. Or they could set up a flank that's so perfectly timed.
The enemy gets wiped before they even know you're there.
Exactly. The real power isn't just knowing where the enemy is. It's also about denying them that same info about you.
Right. Information asymmetry.
Mm-hmm. It lets teams set up perfectly synchronized crossfires. They can create these kill boxes based on intel they got just seconds before. Things like the dart trap putting scout sensors at key choke points. Or a choke hunt using both a tracker and a mechanic to just lock down an area.
And that misdirection one.
Imagine the chaos using false intel from misdirection to bait enemies into a trap you've already set. It's pure tactical mind games.
Sounds incredibly effective, but surely even the best intel isn't perfect. What's the biggest mistake people make when trying to use, or maybe counter, a tracker?
Yeah, good point. The biggest misconception, I think, is treating intel like it's a guarantee. Like, oh, I scanned, it's safe.
But it's not always safe.
No, it's a tool.
Right.
It's information, but it might be slightly old or incomplete. And this brings up counterplay. The sources really stress watching your own footsteps, you know? Don't just blindly rush into areas you think were just scanned.
Be aware you might be the one being tracked.
Exactly. And use things that mask your presence. Abilities like dead silence or poltergeist can hide you completely from some tracking methods. And again, something like misdirection. You got to rely more on sound cues. Really listen to tell what's real and what's fake.
So you have to think critically about the intel itself.
Definitely. Don't just react. Analyze.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what's the main takeaway for you, the listener? Our sources are pretty clear. Trackers help you win fights before they even start.
It boils down to knowing the zone, reading the map intelligently, and hunting smart, not just hard.
Mastering these eyes of the squad, whether you're using them yourself or understanding how to counter them, gives you that consistent tactical advantage.
Exactly right. Think about it this way. If the enemy always knows where you are, what you're doing, you're always playing catch-up. You're reacting, not acting.
You're dictated to, instead of dictating the fight.
Precisely. So the final thought here is, step back from the game for a second. Think about other areas. Maybe it's business, understanding market trends, or anticipating a competitor. Maybe it's just, managing a complex project. How can you become the tracker in your own field? How can you apply these ideas, foresight, strategic advantage, to see the bigger picture, to understand the play before it happens?
And gain that critical edge, whatever you're doing.
Yeah. How do you get those eyes working for you? Something to think about.